on you.
No.
Go on, Jane, you start. You do it. Jane, you do it. You do it. You do it, Jane. You do it,
Hello,
Jane.
everybody, and welcome to Live Lunch.
Here we go. Here we go. So, I'm faking all the energy today. I've just been literally stood up, like doing stretches and things, trying to get some enthusiasm into my system. I'm like, it's Thursday, it's 12 noon, it's live lunch. Oh. No, we love doing this. We absolutely love doing this. But I think something has happened. We've had a couple of days of nice weather. It's been stifling hot in the office. Obviously, everyone's working from home today. But I think we're just feeling the effects of having been in those, that kind of the glorious temperature. How nice to have a beautiful sunny day just as the kids have gone back to school. But it does take it out of you, doesn't it?
Definitely.
We're just feeling a bit like, how can we? And there's this thing when you're like doing, like when you're speaking, when you're doing webinars, all that kind of stuff, and it's like you've got to get in state before you perform. I think it's the same anytime you do anything on social media, even if it is just writing a post. You've got to get in the right mindset where you are bring some energy and enthusiasm and all of that kind of thing. So we are going to struggle on. We are going to still try and entertain a few people this week for the Green Umbrella Live Lunch, share a bit of news along the way. And actually, I think we've got a couple of bits of news, but we've got a couple of things that popped up in conversation this week. We were like, we should talk about that in Live Lunch. So a few things going on there. But how are we all this week? Are we all happy?
Happy, yeah. Happy as you said. But yeah, we I think we were all, I think, I don't want to be kind of like, oh, it's one of those people that moans about the hot weather, because it has been gorgeous the last few days, but it is a little bit energy sapping. So if anyone else is feeling like that, we hear you, we're with you, but we still show up. We're pros.
Absolutely. Who said ish? Get out. Okay. So, Mark, I'm going to kick off with you because we never come to you first, because it's always like pulling teeth trying to get you to talk. So
might still be the same today.
Yeah, maybe. But there's a couple of things that come up in conversation this week. One of which was triggered by a BBC News article. Just so you know which one I want you to talk about.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, you with me?
Yeah,
Wink.
The tennis.
So.
Yeah?
That's what the other one about the tennis.
Yeah.
Go on, tell people, what is it we want to talk about? Go on, get into it.
So, yeah, there was an article that came up on the BBC basically asking, is the business card dead, particularly because of COVID? So, obviously, the article was going through the fact that obviously people haven't been meeting sort of face to face, and I think there were some stats of like how many business cards are printed and how, that kind of thing. And one of the big online printers, their normal sort of turnover is sort of a quarter of their turnover is based on business cards, and obviously that's dropped massively because of the fact that we've not been seeing everyone. So obviously they were talking in the article about how things might change with business cards. So there was a couple of things in there, quite interesting things. So the first one one of the ones that was touched on was NFC technology, so contactless technology essentially, so that contactless business cards. So you perhaps you have, and these have been around for a little while, but have just obviously not been adopted in the same way. So you'll have a single business card essentially that you can just literally tap to someone's phone and transfer your details to them. And there's other things that work on NFC as well, sort of key rings and little stickers and things like that. And it's that kind of technology. But I mean, I think it's great personally in terms of the technology side of it and the convenience. But then part of the article was also talking about, primarily in the Far East, but the fact that business cards are sort of, and handing over a business card is like a bit more of a ritual. So obviously different parts of the world, it's going to be different. But then obviously I was thinking more, again, when we talk about branding and things like that, just flicking someone's phone with tapping a card on there, all very convenient, but it says nothing about your business. So for me, there's still a place, but it's how you use those business cards, and that's what we were sort of talking about. So, there's some minuses of the NFC sort of thing as well. People might not want to do that. They might want to not download your contact details to their phone anyway, for a start. So if you've only got that, you're only giving those people that opportunity. But if you've got a card that's maybe, printed, reflects your brand, is nice, good quality, but maybe has something like a QR code on it that people can then scan and download a V card at their leisure, then I think that's probably a good happy medium at the moment. That's my two penneth.
I think there is, especially like, with what we do, it's not tangible. You can't, there is, I can't hand you a bunch of social media posts. I can't hand you interaction and engagement, but it's kind of like actually being able to hand something over, I think is really, really valuable. But I think there is as well, like right now, there's like adverts everywhere for, you're seeing videos in your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, and it's like, it's a phone and a card that's being tapped, and all the contact information appears, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. And you kind of fall into thinking it's something new, but this technology has been around for a long time. I think it probably, it never kicked off previously because there was never an important enough reason for people to be using it. But I think also, is there an argument here for it not kicking off because of people getting wiser to the sort of cyber scams that are out there? And, it's...
I was going to ask about that. It doesn't sound like it's particularly data secure.
No, I mean, Paul said he's got an NFC card. So, I mean, I haven't seen anyone with a card or actually sort of done it on my phone to see how it works. But I mean, there's some, like, since we actually read that article, I've had a look around and seen what kind of things are around. There's a couple of companies that are producing them that have got good reviews and things like that. But there's, like you said, there's no mention of sort of any security aspects to it, and that would obviously have to be someone who knew a bit more about the technology itself. But it's I think it's one of those things. It might be something where you perhaps will have almost one of each. Well, not one of each, because you'd have a batch of business cards, but you're giving people that option then. But I think, like we said, I think to present yourself to a client or someone at networking and things, I still think it does give a message about your business and organization. It's the old thing about having a crappy flimsy business card. What does, printed in a service
what does it say about you?
What does it say about you? So I personally think it still will be relevant again.
So sorry, someone else want to say something? You go first.
I was just going to say that it depends where you work as well, because my husband, he, as you guys know, is a narrowboat engineer. So he uses his business cards all the time. People ask him for them. A lot of his clients are older. They don't have the technology on their phone to use an NFC card. But the other thing is he leaves his cards in marinas. So, the clients of the marinas go in there, they go, do you know a narrowboat engineer? They just hand over his card. He's not there. So in his case, his cards are used more without him than they are with him. And for him, he's never going to get rid of his business cards. So it depends what you do.
So that really ties in with what I was going to say, is that you kind of think of your business card as a way of giving someone your details, but actually there's opportunity to do so much more. It's a... So, Mark's used to said about, a QR code or something on the back. It doesn't need to be a QR code. It could be you could have like a short link, like a bit.ly link or something like that takes people to a particular resource. You have 2 or 3 of them on there. We see, like, even now, you get people creating business cards and they want them printed or whatever. They send a design through and it's like they've only used one side of the card. And it's like they've just not maximised the real estate, basically. So, like, how can people make their cards more valuable?
I think, like I say, is obviously utilising the space available without cramming too much in as well, because you can go too far and add too much. But again, we'll see cards where perhaps the business name doesn't tell you what that business is. And we've seen many cards that, you'd see a card with a company name, you'd have no idea what they do. So, if you need that kind of information on there, even if it's just a couple of lines or something to express what you do, how you can, again, it's like how you can help someone. It could be, as simple as that, just a couple of lines, a couple of a few bullet points. We've been having photos on our cards for a little while now, again, because especially if, obviously we haven't been to exhibitions and things, but if you're handing them out at exhibitions, networking as well to a certain degree, you're going to meet a lot of people, and at least you've got a reference then. So, you might go and then connect with them later on, but you can say, oh yeah, that's the bald guy with a stubbly beard or whatever, So it's, those little bits like that you can add in there, just making sure all your details are in there. So however you want people to connect with you. So if you want, obviously if you want people to ring you, make sure your phone number's on there. Most people will use a phone number and want that to be on a business card. Don't necessarily need an address. Obviously, again, it depends if you've got a physical address. If you want people to visit, make sure it's on there. And obviously, again, social media, if you want people to connect with you, at least let them know which platforms you're on so they can look out for it. You probably, these days, I wouldn't necessarily have all the individual links because it's going to take up a lot of space. But if people know, right, that these guys are on Facebook and LinkedIn, right, I can go and find them on there, make sure you include that as well. And then, think about other things like QR codes and links and downloads and, how you can sort of get people interacting with other parts of your marketing and online presence.
I think that's the thing. We're talking about sort of, redesigns on business cards and that sort of stuff. And it's like, actually, how do you turn your business card into something that is a resource rather than just something that carries your details? Because once it gets punched into the CRM, that business card is essentially going to get filed. We use the word filed. And I think this is the other thing as well. If I'm out at an event and someone's, I get zapped, your details are in my phone now. Well, there's another, thousands of people, whatever, in my phone, and it's just another entry in my contacts. There's nothing that's going to help you filter to the top. So yeah, just as a point of, because we'll move on at this point, but just before we do, I brought it up on the screen already, but just if you are over on Facebook watching us today rather than LinkedIn, Chris Lambert has popped a link in there that talks about security tips in regards to those NFC cards. So it might be worth checking that out. So thank you for that, Chris. Cool. Okay, so let's move on. Amanda, have you got anything for us today? I know you've been copywriting.
I have. It's been a very bloggy writing type of week. But aside from that, so my kind of, not whinge of the week, but my kind of frustration is that Instagram, so you can normally, if you're scrolling through, so not the stories, if you're scrolling through the main feed and you see a post that you really want to share, you could normally just click the little arrow button, click it, share it to your stories. That has now gone for me. So it gives me the option, if I click on that little kind of the paper airplane arrow, to send it to somebody so I can share that post with one of my connections, or I can create a group. And I have been Googling and looking and I can't see how to get it back. So, and I just mentioned it before we came on air, and Jane kind of went, you need the sticker. And I was, what? Where? And considering I get all the newsletters as well, I haven't seen it. And honestly, it's been doing my head in, because I want it back. If I see a post that really resonates with me, whether it's, it could be something serious about, what's happening in Afghanistan or in Texas, or it could be just a really funny meme that I want to share, but it's gone. And it's frustrating. So, and I'm sure I'm not alone. So if anyone else has got this problem, then let us know. But how do I fix it? Help me.
So you can't fix it completely, but you do have a different way of doing it. So I only discovered this on probably Tuesday when the green umbrella one disappeared. But I actually got a little bit at the top that said you can now share your story using a sticker. So I thought, okay, so then I followed the steps through it. and it basically showed me how to do it, and then it showed me where the sticker was, and it sort of put a little arrow to point to the sticker to tell me to use it. That was all fine, so I did that. Next day, of course, that information had gone, so like now I can't remember how I did that.
No.
So basically, I was trying to share something from our own posts onto the story, but you have to go to creating a new story at the top, so your little plus button next to your avatar. And then you go to create, which is normally where you get the blank screen where you can add text. Then you go to stickers, and then there's a share post sticker. So when you click on that, it'll open up your last post and some suggested things. Or you can just go to your own grid and pick something from your own grid and share it then. What I don't know, however, though, is if you had a specific post you wanted to share, how you then refined that. Because I haven't tried to do that. So there may be a search option then for you to go back to the account where you've seen it, but it's quite long-winded. It's dead easy to share something from your own grid, but it looks like it's quite long-winded to share something from somebody else's grid. So yeah, but give it a try. Give it a try. See if there is a search. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look as nice.
There's been there's been some real. Obviously, Jane and I are in quite a few like groups of social media managers and social media marketers, that kind of thing. And there's definitely been some mixed opinions as to whether this is a good move or not from the people over at Instagram. I think it's like all of this stuff, the social media channels, they just kind of test pretty much everything live. And, and then they decide, we won't talk about LinkedIn stories today because I know you guys covered it last week when I wasn't here. But it's like, we're going to roll out this thing, we're going to test to see if it works, and then dependent on how people work with it, we'll keep it, or we'll just roll it back again and get rid of it. So, we'll see what happens on this one. But there are a lot of unhappy people in the Instagram world with this one little change. So, and you're definitely not on your own, Amanda.
Oh, good.
They did talk about it a while ago, though, didn't they? A few months ago, they said they were trying to get rid of it because it wasn't original content. That was their reason for getting rid of it in the first place.
Yeah, I think they said that basically when you were sharing, if you shared a post into a story, they were kind of going to downvote it in the algorithm. So that story wouldn't potentially be seen by as many people. But I think nobody cared. So they've just kind of gone, oh, well, if they're going to do it anyway, let's embrace it and find a way of making it work that works for us.
I imagine if you were an influencer, in whatever sphere, so whether you were kind of a celebrity influencer in, fashion or whatever, or business influencer and Instagram was your platform, you want people to share. So, that would have a real impact on people's earnings. So if they're getting ad revenue because they're a brand partner, that would be a real issue for them.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I think this is why so many people are miffed with it. Just because it's like we've made everything which it should be about making life easier, not more difficult in terms of these tools. So there we go. Cool. Okay. So anything else, Amanda, you've been looking at this week?
That was the biggie, really. Also, my video was completely frozen, so I can't see any of you anymore. So I don't know if you can still see me, but
we can, and we're all pulling faces at you right now.
No, okay, yeah. That doesn't surprise me. I know what you lot are like.
Awesome. Okay.
That was the main thing for me this week. I suppose the only other thing is that with writing blogs, I've started to notice some similar topics coming through, which is, I suppose you would expect in that people want to talk about what is, a trending and popular topic. But if you're thinking about blog content, I would think, what's a sort of more unique way you can go about presenting it? So, and we can give some advice on that as well. But it's just, there are a lot of blogs around at the moment about hybrid working, going back into the office, that kind of thing. So maybe think about if there are ways you can make it really specific to your audience, or if you can go about it in a slightly more creative way. So it's just a kind of note of caution, I suppose, to anyone who's creating content out there. If you're doing another 6 ways or 10 ways you can, cope with hybrid working, it's been done. So think about other ways you could go about that.
Yeah, I think it's that. Yeah, being creative is definitely the key to success, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff out there that's we work with a lot of recruiters, so like one of those articles would be, how to, 10 things to include on the perfect CV. Right, there's a million articles out there about writing CVs. Like there's only so many ways to position it. But if you're in a niche, then there are opportunities to do something sort of cool and quirky to make sure that it definitely works for you. Have you? So it was interesting the way you worded things. I think that a lot of people will, that they want the thinking like, what's trending? What can I write an article around? And they'll pick something like that. And sometimes it is like, the work from home stuff. Sometimes it's more related to events, on a world scale. And I'm kind of pushing the conversation now because we were talking earlier about obviously September the 11th.
Yes.
So, and I know you've got some thoughts on that one.
Yeah, so it is, where are we now? It's the 9th, so it's Saturday. And of course, it's an anniversary that comes around every year, but it feels more significant because it's the 20-year anniversary. And I think there's been a lot of documentaries on over the last week or so. So it was just a note of caution to say people if they are planning on posting anything on their platforms over the weekend, the world doesn't stop. Obviously, it was incredibly tragic what happened, and for our generation, a major event. But I would just be a little bit cautious for people about how they word posts if they're putting them out on Saturday. So, it's that whole, don't necessarily hop on a bandwagon if you don't feel compelled to share something that recognises the anniversary. You don't have to. But equally, maybe just be a little bit cautious about kind of doing anything that's too, woohoo, what a great day, and I love this date or anything like that. Just keep it in the back of your mind that it is a significant milestone and people are going to be marking it.
Yeah, I think I'm already seeing a lot of stuff that is on Facebook, actually, more so than anywhere else, where it's like the engagement hacking kind of posts. So, posts that like, where were you on September the 11th?
Yeah.
Where were you when the towers came down? And yeah, I remember where I was. I remember the exact conversations that happened just after because it was a huge event. But it's kind of like, I think if we put a post out that was like, where were you at that time? You're veering on doing stuff in poor taste, really. And I think that there's some times where there's something where actually, yes, you should be doing it. But yeah, there's other times where I'm just like, all the posts I've seen this morning, yesterday, that are like, and they're essentially the same bloody posts, just a different colour background, and I'm like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this stuff.
No, engagement hacking is a really good phrase. Sorry because I can't see you at the moment. I don't know why my video's not working. I can't see your verbal cues, but I don't think we've ever really talked about that on Live Lunch. But that's exactly what it is, isn't it? And there's so many of those questions that are going around on Facebook in particular that ask the question like, how apparently there's a survey that says people don't move 10 miles away from where they were born, where they live now. And you've got almost 1 million people. There's some of these comments, they've got 900,000 people have commented. Why? What's the point? Why are you commenting on it? It's just that. And if you're doing it in, using a world event like 9/11 to say, where were you? Another one that does the rounds, I think, nearly every year and was fairly recently is when Princess Diana died. Where were you when you heard about that? It was not a major event. But again, it's kind of, you don't need to publicly share that. What's the point in sharing it with just a completely random Facebook page?
So here's the thing, okay, and this is where I feel there's a little bit of a difference sometimes with the engagement hacking stuff. So a question like that in a situation where like we're public on the Green Umbrella page, for example, asking the question there versus asking that question perhaps in Green Umbrella coaching group that's on Facebook, because it's a closer community. So actually, for us to put the question in there, like if we were going to put the question on the Green Umbrella, I would be putting it out and here's our answers, so people get to know us better. Doing it in a closed community where we want to get to know those people within the green umbrella community better, then there are questions that are, things like your first car, do you name your cars? Because that's always a weird one, isn't it? My husband always names his vehicles, and I've never really understood that. I'm like, I'm distracted by names of cars. He's even named the TV. He names devices. The TV is called Steve. So
I feel like a psychotherapist would have a field day with this.
I'm just, I'm like, and now I am, because my focus is so limited today, I've got no idea where I am in this conversation anymore.
So engagement hacking. That's
engagement hacking. Yeah. So I think sometimes with the engagement hacking stuff, you can ask a question within a community and it fits really well because there is an objective behind, there is a purpose there. Whereas, like I said, there's other times when it's just like, there's lots of issues with asking that question in that situation. But essentially, this is the difficult job of a social media manager, because you want to stay on point, you want to stay on message, you want to stay on brand, you want the engagement, but you want the right engagement. I think that's an interesting thing. Okay, all right. Jane, we'll come to you now. I normally pick on you first. So, what's it like having to just be able to sit back and relax for a little while without me bugging you?
Should have turned my camera off. No, so this week there's a few things going on with Twitter, which is quite unusual because Twitter hardly ever does anything. So, so the first thing that they're testing is Twitter communities. So actually leads on a little bit from what you were just saying about having conversations in groups in the right setting. Is that an aeroplane going
it's so noisy out here, and what you can't see, I mean, I should probably ask their permission first, right? Can you see out the window? No, you can't.
Really?
Can you see that? Look, they're about to start cutting the grass.
Oh, sure.
Bloody buggers. But you'd have thought they know we've got things going on a Thursday lunchtime. But there you go.
Amanda's vanished for me.
Yeah. That's all right. She's probably just gone
I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here. I'm just trying to restart my camera so I can see you all again.
It's like she's like a virtual Amanda now. It's like a bit like an Alexa type thing. Just a little dot that's talking to us.
Amanda's a little pulsating blob on my screen. Yeah.
That's a fairly apt description, basically.
Can we get the screenshot for the image now?
Awesome. Right. Okay. So, oh my God, it's collapsing, isn't it? Right, Jane. Twitter.
Yes.
Twitter communities. You say what you're going to say, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, cool. So basically, it's going to be selected areas where, if you want to talk about a certain subject, you enter the community, and everyone in there has a chat about that one subject. So whatever you tweet in there doesn't appear on your main Twitter feed. It's public, so anyone, if they wanted to go in and join the conversation or look at it later, they can see it. But it just means that you can have an in-depth conversation about something with like-minded people outside of your normal Twitter stream. So I thought it sounded quite interesting, to be honest.
And when I first read it, I was like, "Ooh, this is exciting!" It's like communities are building communities. That really is where it is on social media. Like, the more you can build communities, the more you can actually get leads out of those communities and turn the presence into actual business. So, we've had LinkedIn groups, crap as they are. We won't get into that conversation now. We've got LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. Brilliant. Okay. And well, Twitter's just never had anything like that. So I read it and I thought, this is brilliant. You can go into that feed and you can engage and blah, blah, blah. And you can get to know people in the community. But it's just a feed that's going to be seen by other people that are interested in that topic. It's not like you can then suddenly create communities on there. And so I was a little bit disappointed.
In a way, communities is the wrong name for it, isn't it? It's Twitter topics, really, isn't it? If they'd called it that, it's a place to go to have a conversation about a topic.
Yeah.
It's not a community.
That's it. And it's, you know, it's like interest groups, really. It's like an interest feed that you're able to engage with and contribute with. And I guess if there's people within that community and they're producing content on a regular basis, and you start to recognise them as being an influencer within that community, there's that would be a good strategy in terms of using that feature. But yeah, the way it's reading at the minute, and this is something that's being tested, so we've, until, if they decide to roll it out, we all get access, fantastic, we can dive into it more then. But like I said, on closer reading, it just feels like it's not really going to be that different to clicking on a hashtag and reading all the posts that are under that hashtag. The only difference is when you tweet with that hashtag, it's not going out to all of your audience or, the people that are going to see your content anyway. So yeah, it was really good. And then I very quickly got a little bit like, oh, was that it?
Fair enough.
Cool.
Yeah, they had another couple of bits though, if you want me to talk about them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, not massive stuff, but they are testing a process for removing your followers. So rather than blocking them, which obviously is quite a major thing, you've blocked somebody, they're blocked for good. This is just remove them. So they won't get a notification that you've removed them, but they can refollow you later. But if someone was just annoying you a bit or whatever, you can just say, remove that person from my Twitter feed. And another thing that they're talking about doing was allowing you to archive your old tweets, hiding likes from things, and removing yourself from tweet discussions. So not major things, but just more things to maybe just keep your Twitter organised, really.
Yeah, I've seen some, with all the changes that have come out in the last sort of, 3 weeks really, I've seen some conversation around the fact that the purpose of Twitter when it very first launched was to create like a town hall of content. So you could jump in there and you could kind of see what everyone was talking about based on who you wanted to follow. And it's like the changes they're making, the stuff that they're bringing in is kind of moving them further and further away from that purpose, because it's creating pockets of communities in different places. Can you hear them cutting their stuff in the background?
Only a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm like that man and his strimmer. So yeah, they're kind of moving away from purpose, which I think is interesting to see how that all pans out in the future. I think next year's I'm already looking at what the trends for 2022 are going to be, and I do think community is going to be something that's quite high up on that list of things people need to be focusing on for their marketing strategies, building communities, engaging in those communities as well. So we'll see what happens with Twitter. Anything else you've spotted in the news this week, Jane?
No, not really. I mean, there was a bit more on the Twitter shopping thing, but I think I've actually talked about that before. They're talking about allowing you to shop directly from tweets, but that's about all I've seen this week, to be honest.
Awesome. So I've got one thing that we've not talked about. So there are various reports that happen, and I know, Amanda, I'm sorry, I know the data stuff is normally on you, and I didn't have a chance to see if you'd seen this already. There's like two big report sources, if you like, that I'm constantly going back to see, like, have they updated, what are the changes. So one is the Hootsuite do a kind of a global state of social report. There's also something called a Penny, and they do a report as well. And I was looking through that, and it's like an infographic, the way that they put their content out. And what was really interesting to me, because App Annie is the same as Hootsuite are. They're really good at kind of like, this is the global result, but here's the US, here's the UK, here is Asia, etc., etc. And I was looking at the UK stats. Now, we all know YouTube is really, really valuable. Okay, it's like the second biggest search engine. We should all be thinking about video and how we use video and all that sort of stuff. And if we look at kind of like average monthly usage, it's pretty standard, you know, pretty static rather. Okay, so average monthly hours per user on YouTube, and this is going back, this is essentially like about 12, 18 months worth of data. It's pretty, so the line is pretty static, okay, and you're looking at, like, I'd say average like 16 and a half hours a month per user, which doesn't, you know, that sounds realistic, doesn't it? I think it does. Right, but then they put TikTok on top of that as well, okay, and in terms of average monthly users, and remember, this is people consuming video content. This is people, and TikTok by nature is short form video. Okay, the average hours per user on TikTok for a month, what do you think it would be?
Oh, hour and a half, 2.
What, a month?
A month.
I was thinking way
a month.
higher.
Sorry, yeah.
Like,
no, I'm
month.
60 hours a month or something ridiculous.
No, yeah, definitely more than that a month then. Let's see, up to 20. I'm not. You can't. Oh no. Can you see me now?
No.
No.
Am I still a dot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. Oh, I could Google it and you wouldn't know. No, I don't know. Do we get a prize if we're right, Christina?
Not a prize, no. Okay, I just shared my screen quickly. Right, so this is from the report. It's this graph here, okay? So, like, you're looking like 25, nearly 26 hours it's now at, compared to YouTube, right, at about sort of 15 and a half. That purple line there, that is YouTube, okay? That little line there that's just going up and up and up and up, right, that's TikTok, and that's just in the UK.
Wow.
So we think of TikTok as being a bit of a, you know, it's a kids platform, it's a nonsense platform. But over the last few months, we have seen just so much happening in terms of TikTok changing the way that their platform is working. Completely lost Amanda now. I think she's there somewhere. I'm sure she'll reappear. But you know, it just amazed me when I saw that graph. You know, when you think, like I said, the last few months, TikTok have gone from, you know, like a few seconds long to actually like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So all the video content you're producing, you might do an hour's webinar. She's back. Oh.
We both did that. Sorry.
I'm shocked because I was keen to see your screen as well.
Oh, bless you. I'll send you the link. In fact, I'll put the link in the chat. How about that?
Even better.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for short form video. If you're doing an hour's webinar, grab 5 minutes of it, put it on YouTube, put it on TikTok as well. You know, I think we are. Oh, it doesn't like me posting the link. I don't know if it worked or not. But yeah, I was just amazed that growth in terms of people using TikTok, and we're already seeing the demographics of TikTok changing as well. That audience getting older. I think it's been a fantastic year for the platform. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but right from the get-go, my opinion of it was this isn't a social media platform. TikTok is a form of content. So you create TikTok content, and that goes over to Instagram. That's what you're putting into your Facebook stories, etc., etc. So, yeah, I just think there's a little bit of proof in the pudding there. You know, I'm looking at that and thinking, okay, so rather than kicking myself for not producing enough longer videos for YouTube, actually we need to produce more video for YouTube that is that kind of 3 to 5 minutes instead, rather than like a 15-20 minute tutorial on something. So there's people definitely are liking shorter form video, and they're consuming more of it. And if you think about the messages you want to share through video, it's kind of, just one thing at a time. Every video is one thing that we're telling people, one thing that we're sharing. Whereas you might have done 20 minutes before, and it's like, these are 5 steps to achieve whatever. Actually, now it's 5 individual videos. So yeah, that's my little bit of realization and words of wisdom, blah blah blah, for this week.
So basically, you're saying live lunch needs to be every day, one subject a day, just for 5 minutes, or not.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm saying is we should. So Facebook wants longer video and it wants regular content. So if Green Umbrella was one of our clients, and we all know marketing agencies look after their clients better than they look after themselves, we would take, this is like 40 minutes now, we would take that 40 minutes and we would get a snippet of it of 3 minutes and we put that on TikTok. 5 minutes and we put that in Instagram stories. 15 minutes and we would put it into IGTV with this one piece of content, because we've already done the work having the conversation. And there's bits of it that are a bit flat. There's 15 seconds of me calling Amanda a pulsating blob would be a really good Instagram story. So it's things like that. Actually, we've got the content now. How many different ways can we divide it up so that it can go on different platforms in a way that suits those platforms? But yeah, I mean, Jane, if you want to do a daily live lunch, you can. Not sure it'd be the best use of your time right now, but yeah, I'm up for that.
No, it's fine.
The Daily Show with Gin Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, only if I can taste a different gin every day. That's fine.
There's a market for it.
I'm up for that.
Gin tasting at 1.
Yeah, I'll do that.
No, that's good. That's good. Okie dokie. There was something else we're going to talk about, but we'll pick up on that one another time, because we'll bring things to a close, because I actually think my brain's going to, like, I don't know, start leaking out of my eye or something.
It's quite a graphic description.
I'm really trying here, guys. I'm bringing as much as I can. What I really want to do is just sleep under my desk for 10 minutes. I think that's what I need. Lots of Paris. I'm like, I try. So we'll bring it to a close, because yeah, next week we have, who have we got? Cressida HR. Helen from Cressida HR is joining us, which I'm quite looking forward to, because our team has grown exponentially in the last sort of couple of months. So I want to talk about stuff like, how you keep culture, how you build a vision, like how you get together with your team to build a vision, because this is something we've been talking about this week, isn't it, Jane? And also just like general, like how do you get, we don't have this issue, but we work with a lot of businesses that have the issue of being able to get their teams engaged in their social media activity, that kind of stuff. So yeah, cool. Okay, on that note, because I feel like I'm just rabbiting on again. We'll see you all next week, Thursday at 12 for a Green Umbrella live lunch. Should we do a little wave?
Yep.
Happy days. We'll see you all soon. Tune in next week. I promise we'll be more sane next week. I promise. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.